Welcome back to Autism at Home, brought to you by us at Early Autism Project Malaysia through our non-profit initiative, The Hope Project. My name is Joshabeth Isaacs, and welcome to our series on coping with the pandemic or endemic. In the previous lesson, we talked about communicating to our children all about COVID-19. In today's lesson, we will be talking about how to teach our children to cope with lockdowns and quarantines. Generally, before the pandemic started, children would be out in the playground, swimming in the evenings, attend birthday parties over the weekends, and so many fun gatherings, not to mention a huge part of a child's life, school. But with COVID-19, everything changed overnight. The arrival of this meant that all this freedom suddenly gone. They were then forced to stay at home. And when we first began working from home, we ourselves needed some time figuring out how this would all go. Our children would need to do this too. Being in lockdown can have different effects on everyone across different ages. Some of these effects include feelings of frustration, fear, worry, sadness, anger, changes in appetite, energy, and motivation, difficulty concentrating and making decisions, and even difficulty sleeping or even nightmares. These feelings may also be experienced by children, just to a different extent. Now, the key thing we as parents need to think is, what do our kids need? We know we all may need to stay at home at different times, and that will keep us and others safe. But regardless of the lockdown, what do they still need? It could be physical needs, such as physical exercise to burn up all that energy, or social and emotional needs. Children will be missing their classmates at school or grandparents and all the fun activities they used to have. Now, what about educational needs? Children are missing out on preschool, school, extra classes, and all that fun learning. And not to mention just fun, outings, be it weekends or holidays, and the list goes on and on. Now, as we go through a child's needs, it is also very important to keep structures during this time, be it sleep times, meal times, and just regular daily life. So, let's start. First on the list, physical needs. In a child's world, this means running, jumping, tumbling, dancing, and the list goes on and on. But of course, most of our homes are just not equipped to have these physical activities. But simple, creative, and innovative ideas are all over the internet, with how parents have bought home trampolines, gym mats, and actually we have a resource we released last year that could help give you some ideas too. You may also refer to our lesson on playstations as well as learning stations, both of which are from our Setting Up Your Home series. Having these activities structured and planned in a day can give them some predictability and also allow for their energy to be released appropriately. Tweaking up these activities from time to time will help increase children's interest in them over time and sustain these activities in the long run. Additionally, try to schedule regular walks outside if your city's restrictions permits it, as all kids need to get outside. Many of us live in apartments here in Kuala Lumpur, and we have turned our balconies into picnic spots, as well as used our corridors for cycling, skating, rollerblading, and of course, our favorite, scooters. Next up is in the area of socialization. Most children will be missing their friends tremendously. Schedule regular online playdates and social clubs, as well as virtual parties. Even better, let the children go on a virtual tour to different kids' activities such as the zoo, Google Earth, and the list goes on. With social distancing and travel restrictions being reinforced, human interactions are going to become impossible if not without video calls. Even if these interactions are now done online, and even though it's not the ideal way of interacting, it is still better than having no interactions at all. Another point to consider doing with your children is having some time for them to be able to share their feelings with you. Sometimes children may react physically when they find it challenging to share their feelings with others. Spending some time with them and talking to them about their emotions that led to some actions they did will help them validate their feelings. Next is education. Most schools have pivoted to online learning, and if your children can benefit from that, do continue. We have a second last lesson in this series on some helpful tips for better online learning. However, if your child is more affected with autism and does not benefit from online sessions, face-to-face therapy will be essential, and most cities would give special permission for teachers on a one-to-one basis. For younger children, parents can also follow different activities online to keep the learning going at home and make it really fun and engaging at the same time. If you need a refresher on this, do check out our lesson on making learning fun. Last but not least is exactly that, fun and engagement. With children now being stuck at home without playdates and outings, we parents just need a different game plan to plan out the stay-at-home activities for our children. Ideas on different play activities can be found in so many resources online, especially on Pinterest and YouTube. You can also check out some of our suggested activities in our play series. We talked about making each day of the week something fun. But most of us parents are likely wiped out ourselves, so even having something to look forward to just on Saturdays would be great. Some fun suggestions off the top of my head for younger children that we as a family have personally done are drive-through meals. We buy some takeaway and we eat it in our car, either by the park so there's a nice view, or even in our own car park. Drive-through safaris. There are some locations locally that have different animals, be it monkeys or chickens, and our children love it as a weekend outing. I know it's no African safari, but you can also catch that online on YouTube. What about home movie afternoons or movie nights where we create a cinema experience by turning off the lights and setting up cushions and making popcorn and a snack tray? Saturday sleepovers or even breakfast in bed. Since we can't take a weekend away, we try to create this hotel experience in our own home and a nice breakfast in bed for the kids. Last but not least is a travel around the world day. We just pick a country such as England or Mexico or Japan and learn a few facts about it, watch some YouTube videos, dress up in the theme if we can, order or cook a famous cuisine from that country, and most importantly, travel there via Google Earth. Each of these examples are simple DIY home activities that have just helped fill our kids' tanks during this challenging period. Now, do remember to communicate what's coming up clearly to your children, especially those who are nonverbal. The use of a visual weekly schedule and even a countdown calendar will really help kids have that anticipation and excitement, but also prevent meltdowns and frustration at home. Now it's your turn. Discuss with your spouse what you both feel your children need. Is it physical? Is it social, emotional, educational, or just the fun factor? There will certainly be other needs possibly not listed here, so please do go ahead and find alternative options for this. Also double check that you are able to maintain a flexible daily routine with sufficient sleep times, healthy meals, sufficient learning and playtime, and identify which of the above strategies your child has yet to engage in. Next, list down some changes you may want to make and try it right away at home. We know that during the pandemic, everyone is affected in one way or another. For working parents, it can get really challenging to go through each day feeling productive and perhaps successful. We encourage parents to try your best to do the best that you can in helping your children and your family go through this season together. And it's totally okay if we don't achieve 100% in any day at all. Just try your best and do reach out personally for help if you need as well. I know for our own family, our entire apartment looks like a daycare permanently now. Our couch has become a gym, our dining table has turned into a homeschool station, and our living room is constantly turning into a fort or picnic or campsite. This mess does trouble me at times, but it's better happier children than a perfect house, and it's not like anyone is visiting anyway. At the end of the day, we can make the most of this season, and our children may actually have great memories of a lot of quality time with parents at home. So we talked a lot about lockdown, and we hope that these strategies will benefit you and your family. But what if you have been in contact with someone who was tested positive? Or what if you or your child tested positive for COVID-19? If you or your family member have been tested positive and have been asked to be quarantined at home by the health officials, here are some suggestions on how to make it work for you and your family. In such cases, we understand that it may be a challenge for any child with autism to follow all the quarantine protocols. It would be easier for the adults to follow all the protocols strictly by wearing face masks, shields, maintaining the social distancing, sanitization, and trying to contain the affected person to specific rooms. Most importantly, if you are demonstrating symptoms or have been tested positive with COVID-19, do remember to seek professional medical advice. This lesson is just to provide some tips to cope with being stuck in lockdown or quarantine, and it is not a medical guide at all. So that's it for our second lesson on coping with the pandemic, coping with lockdowns and quarantines. In our next lesson, we look forward to teaching your child how to tolerate wearing face masks and face shields if they aren't already able to do so. If you haven't already, do check out our free online resource platform, Autism at Home, which has all the corresponding articles and necessary downloadables for you. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay updated. Take good care, and we will get through this pandemic.